Under the gray northern sky, deep in the desolate forests of Karelia, the Gulag prison stretched like an open wound in the flesh of the earth. The air there stung the skin with its chill, and the smell of damp wood and burning coal seeped into the lungs, a constant reminder that you would never see the warmth of home again. The project was the Stalin Canal, a waterway connecting the White Sea to Lake Onega. On maps, it looked like a great engineering feat, but on the ground it meant something else. Thousands of men and women, most of them political prisoners, worked to their last breath, snow covering their eyelashes, the sound of whips and the sharp whistles of NKVD guards shattering the silence. Ivan Petrov, a former literature professor at Leningrad University, found himself there because he had written a poem that the Central Committee didn't like. He stood in the morning assembly, carrying a shovel too heavy for his arm, as he gazed at the frozen river that was supposed to become the canal's conduit. In front of him, soldiers wore thick coats and high hats, and behind them were dogs barking at anyone who slowed down. There were no large machinery or modern bulldozers. Orders were strict. Dig by hand, and primitive wooden carts were the only means of transportation. Gravel was broken with small hammers, and ice was dug out with picks, as if the 20th century had never arrived. Food consisted of watery soup and a few crumbs of bread, just enough to keep you alive enough to work the next day. Night in the Gulag was another world. Inside the cramped wooden huts, prisoners huddled around a dying stove, whispering about life before their arrest, about a wife they had abandoned, a book they had been reading, or a child who hadn't yet known his father. Ivan would tell them stories, quoting verses from Pushkin and Chekhov from memory, as if words could break iron chains. But the canal was not just a construction project, it was a scene of slow death. Of the 170,000 prisoners who worked on it, tens of thousands never returned. They were buried in pits beside the stream, with no names or crosses, just small mounds of snow on top of their bodies. In the spring of 1933, when the water finally flowed into the canal, Stalin stood on the bank, smiling for the cameras, while the prisoners stood in the background, their faces pale and their eyes sunken. None of them were mentioned in official speeches, nor were their names inscribed on a memorial stone. They were the stones that paved the canal's path.